Let's kick things off with the Expanse season 5.
Right.
You don't have to spoil everything about it, but you could give at least give me a gist of what this season was about and whatnot. So
Right.
yeah, take it away.
Right. So this is probably my favorite season so far.
Nice.
Basically what it is, it follows from the right. So it follows from season 4 where they open new ring gates and everybody start traveling through and discover new planets. But unfortunately, politics is gonna politic. And what ended up happening is the the Belters, where the people who kind of the downtrodden types within the galaxy, well, it's in the solar system.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of didn't really get a fair shake last time, and the Holden had to stop a guy who was going to exploit them. So, but here's the problem: the Belters rise, a person who's a hero kind of rise amongst the Belters, and basically what happened is that this guy is like a terrorist taking over. He killed one of the main antagonists from the last, the main characters, a character called Ashod, from the last season. He murdered him at the end of the season. So this guy is the new power. And then we also find out that he is the baby daddy of Naomi Nagata, one of the main characters, right? And you find out Naomi Nagata has a son called Philip. And basically what happens is that he kidnapped Naomi and she have to spend time with him, and she meets Philip after some odd, I think 20 years or so. Philip absolutely hates her because she abandoned them from years ago because the terrorist guy, Marco, he kind of forced her to do something, well, kind of manipulated her into doing something that was terrible, right? And that is the drama, right? It's Marco deciding to do terrorist shit. And I wouldn't say what he did this season, but it's pretty badass. And he's basically, let us put it like this, he's basically Space Bin Laden. That's all I'll say. And that's what it is. He's basically sexy Space Bin Laden, right? He's very charismatic, very manipulative, puts the Belter people in a situation against Earth and Mars, and he does a lot of interesting negotiations with respect to what happens that he got Mars, and this was being revealed last season. Where Mars, because the new planets were discovered, the people of Mars don't really care about Mars anymore. So what they started to do is kind of leave the planet, and Mars started to go rotten. And they started selling off arms to this guy, and he started using basically Martian technology, which is the most advanced ships in the system, to make a relationship and started building something called the Free Navy. And that was the big enemy force in the storyline. That's the arc. It's just them having to take down this guy, and Naomi having to survive and come up with some clever ways to survive because our trap was set. And sadly, talking about people who should be cancelled, the whole thing was, to me, slightly ruined because of the actor Casanova and what he did in real life. So Casanova was accused of some very, very, very insidious stuff involving minors and some sex pestery involving underage people, unfortunately. So he had to get cancelled. Basically what they did with him, I really thought he would have gotten the Kevin Spacey treatment of being outright replaced by Christopher Plummer, rest in peace, right? And he, what they did with him was they minimize him this season, even though he's a big central character. What they're doing, they kind of do the Andrea thing from Walking Dead, as in, well, I think I could spoil it, but they basically kill him off, but they kill him off in a way that really tasteful, and they're basically going to take all of his plot lines, I think so, like similar to Andrea in Walking Dead, and give them to other characters. So we're going to get that for the final season, hopefully. And that's this season. This season was pretty good. What it does really well is that you really get that early 2000s war on terror aesthetic, like the kind of justifications, the kind of thinking, how it is to deal with somebody like Marco Inaros, how manipulative Marco Inaros is, and how you're going to unite the Belt people. And they get into all of that dynamic. And then Naomi, she's like the central figure because she's in the middle of all of this. She really goes through it. She really goes through the mess. And yeah, it was such a great arc for everybody in terms of personality. It's really the Naomi hour, right? It's the Naomi Nagata just taking L's right through, but her really struggling and saving everybody's lives. And that is basically the storyline. And I really, really, really love this in terms of our personality thing. In terms of character growth. And then the ending of the season does something really weird and strange. I don't know what it is because I don't read the books. But it's a really great ending, and I really hope we don't get Game of Thrones bullshit. I really hope that. That's all I hope for
Oh
finals.
yeah. Well, God forbid if that happens. If it happens to another
Boy,
show, yeah.
boy. But yeah, as I say, Cassandra fucked everything up for this. Unfortunately, it just kind of sour the whole mood for a lot of people. But yeah, moving on. I thought this season was pretty good for what it was. And it's my favorite, probably my favorite season in terms of personality and character growth. Or the side characters, Amos and the president, because the president lose the election last season. Avasarala, she now has to deal with her contention. Again, I don't want to say what it was, but she basically stopped a big disaster by picking up on the cues and dealing with some of the situations. And then she now, they solve, basically she becomes president again for various reasons and whatnot. That is all I'll say. That is it. I don't want to spoil too much about it because it's just like a pretty damn awesome season, even though it's done like a week now. As I said, it's a show that really does a good job of it's this generation's Battlestar Galactica. What Battlestar Galactica was around roughly 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It's this generation. I'm not the biggest fan of Battlestar Galactica's ending, but I really love this as a show, and it's in my opinion a very iconic show. And this show is as good, not as hype for me, but as good. It just so well thought out. It's surprisingly grounded, and its material, the writing is very good. You know what I really strongly recommend? I forget the name of this channel, but it's called Ty and Frank or something like that, or Ty and Company, and it's one of the writers of the books does interviews with like actors, and the guy who plays Amos does interview with him mostly, and it's just them talking about the world building of the Expanse, the writing. Right. And these guys, I really have a lot of, who you call James, I say Corey is not one person, it's two people together, right? And the two of them, cool. The two of them, that's a little piece of trivia, right? The two of them I really like in terms of writing. They give their influences, they know what to do, and they really inspire me to write my works and whatever it is. Hopefully that bullshit will work out, right? And I just work out. Yeah, and I really appreciate the material as it is, and it's a great science fiction. It's just a fantastic show. So yeah, as a rating, I give it a 9 out of 10. Fantastic nice. Thing. Really good season, strongest season so far in my opinion. Just because of the great character work. It have all kind of extra characters. The thing is, if I say too much, it'll be spoiled. But yeah, Gunny goes through something, and Carrie goes through something, and so on and so forth, right? And Amos goes through something, and all of them have their great arcs. They have to go back to Earth, they have to come to the moon, they have to go back to Mars, and so on and so forth. And that's pretty much it for me. Yeah, 9 out of 10. I strongly recommend it. Great season.
All right, so quick question. This Frankie Adams that you were hyping up earlier,
right?
As a great replacement for Gina Carano. Yeah, this little mention as to why based off of the Expanse.
Yeah, no, so last season, so I see she is the Marine character, right? So she's a Martian Marine in the storyline, right? Her character is Roberta Draper. Also, her nickname is Gunny, and she's if you see her in the books, she's huge. In the storyline, she's not as big, but she have a big presence, and I think she's part Maori, so yeah, the genetics is there.
Ooh,
yeah,
right.
Yeah. So she's big. She it's like the same reason why the Rock's so big is that reason, right? And she just have a great body size, body type. She's not as big as Gina Carano, but she's big. She have body size now. So I could totally see her, replacing the character for Cara Dune. Yeah, and basically the character is a Marine. That's the whole point. She's a Martian Marine, total badass, great character. Problem is she's my favorite character in the series, and close second is Carrie, right?
Right.
And so that's it. I absolutely love her character. And last season she had a great arc, absolutely amazing arc in terms of seeing Mars's society collapse and melt down because of the gate systems and nobody giving a shit about Mars anymore to terraform Mars. Love her arc, and to see what she going through and that whole general miasma of ennui that the Martian people going through involving the society and new technology and whatnot. This season, she takes a side role, just mostly working with Alex in solving a mystery involving Marco Inaros and all the terrorism stuff, and White as the Martian military helping on Marco Inaros. And you learn that Marco Inaros working with the Mars people and so on and so forth. You learn all of that last season. And this season she takes a side role, but not as thing. But yeah, in my opinion, if you see Frankie Adams, if you see her in pictures and whatnot, you could totally understand why she could replace Gina Carano. She's a badass.
Right. I got you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but like I said, now that I know that there's a final season coming up, yeah, I mean it's high time for me to jump back on board with the Expanse, because I saw season 1 right after you talked about it and reviewed it and loved it. Yeah. And I really dug the world building in it. You know what I mean? Just how the world was developing, how real it felt and whatnot. And yeah, it was just very well thought out.
What they do very well is what you call the no miracles thing, right? In terms of writing, the Expanse only have like one miracle, which is you have one thing, because with sci-fi writing you have to do within the framework of scientific understanding, or if you're going to bring in plot devices that beyond the framework of scientific understanding, you have to kind of say so. The Expanse only has one plot device that is within the framework of the scientific understanding as we understand it, and they keep it there, right? It's actually well done, but you get it, it's totally plausible and you accept it. No other sci-fi does this. Very few. I don't think any other sci-fi does this as well as the Expanse did, in my opinion, as far as I know. So yeah, okay. It's just so well thought out and just that's a generally excellent show overall, Jared.
Yeah, and it's I guess it's intentional though, but it's one of those shows that you think you'll be hearing a lot of, you know what I mean? But I guess it's just with the influx of so much shows out there, then it's easy for a show like The Expanse to get lost in clutter, I guess.
Yeah, what happened? I as I say, sorry to say it, but to me Cassandra kind of fucked things up a little bit. Because I showed the show would have way more. Because here's the problem. He was the person real hyping the show. Him on social media. Because the show got cancelled now from sci-fi. And we don't from sci-fi. At the time we don't know if Amazon would have picked it up or anything like that. And he was like the number one person on social media, constantly pushing shit, constantly pushing ideas, pushing the show, hyping the show, getting everybody hyped for the show, making sure everybody remember the show. And then to hear that bullshit about him come out, it's like, way boy, fuck, Judd. That like totally, I think that totally pulled the wind out of the sails of the show, in my opinion. That's just me. That's just my speculation.
Right. Understood. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's just move on now to the Snoopy Show, right? So what I'll do, I will just kind of give my history on the show. You give your history on the franchise, I should say, the property Peanuts. Itself.
Peanuts.
Peanuts, right? And then I'll just jump into my thoughts on the show. You jump into your thoughts on the show, and then final rating, right? So for me, though, I mean, I don't want to spend whole day talking about Peanuts, right? But
not too much to talk about with the show itself.
Yeah, but in terms of just Peanuts as a whole, literally grew up on it. Read the comics, had a couple of books. Like ever so often, you would take like the best, strips, put them in this compilation and sell it to kids and whatnot. So I had a couple of those. I remember I had one for Calvin and Hobbes. That was also a comic I really grew up on. I actually remember the final comic that aired. I think that was December 31st, 96. I think 96 is when it wrapped up, right? But anyway, but with Peanuts though, I would say how Calvin Hobbes felt like a more existential take on it. It's like this kid and this toy tiger, but he's talking about all these things about life and being a kid and all that kind of stuff. Which always struck me, right? I always felt that was really interesting for a comic for kids to go that direction, right?
Right.
But with Peanuts, it was more innocent. It was more like this is how it is to be a child, to be a kid. Sorry, to have imagination. But at the same time, life will kick you on your ass, you know what I mean? And that's why we have the iconic character, the relatable character, by opinion, of Charlie Brown. Still one of my favorite, still like top 2 favorite characters of Peanuts. And he's just the lovable loser. You know what I mean? You watch him, he all these shenanigans with the football and with how Snoopy, always teases him and all that kind of stuff. It's there, right? But you kind of see yourself in him though, especially with the animated stuff, which I'll get into in a bit, right? Of course, Snoopy is what probably top favorite character for me.
Yeah,
Just all the shenanigans he gets himself into. This would be a fact that he's a dog and he does not do things that a normal dog does. He will sleep on top of his doghouse, right? He has this friend, the Woodstock, this little bird. He imagines himself as this pilot, the Red Baron, and it's just
right.
where his imagination goes and how wild it runs, right? So really love that. Of course, his side characters, Sally, Pigpen, Franklin, Peppermint Patty, Marcy, Linus, Lucy.
Yeah,
We just a lot of great characters, right? But how I really, really love the property as a whole was through the cartoons itself, right? So I'll confess I haven't seen all of the big movies. Like I haven't
right.
seen A Boy Named Charlie Brown. I haven't seen, Bon Voyage, Charlie Brown, or Snoopy Come Home. But I did see Race for Your Life, Charlie Brown, because that actually showed on TV once, and I caught it, I really dug it. But it was really like the holiday specials that really drew me into the world. So it's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie
Right.
Brown. I really dug that. The Thanksgiving episode, dug that. But it's really the Christmas episode that I loved, the Charlie Brown Christmas special. That is still one of my all-time favorite Christmas shows, period, right?
Right.
Just mainly because of, well, one thing, the music, the theme song is so iconic, and just how they incorporated jazz into this world that I loved, you know what I mean? And it just really took something really interesting and relatable about Christmas. Like, yeah, I just not in the spirit, but I don't understand why. I just built
Right.
this really relatable story out of that, right? Of course, you have that iconic shot of the kids dancing, when they're doing the preparing for the play, and that one kid who does that one dance, and I just love it's how like Johnny Bravo years later will copy that. I just love that, right? But anyway, so I was just always a fan, me, but ever so often I would just kind of watch those shows every time they show on ABC, I think it was, right? So cut to, when was it? 2015, and then we got the Peanuts movie, right? This was like, the characters in CG for the first time ever. I
Yeah.
remember seeing it in theaters and I liked it. I didn't love it though, but I liked it, right? It captured the spirit of it, but the spirit and the vibe of the comics and the movies and sorry, the cartoons. And it was just the characters just being themselves as usual. Of course, new actors playing Charlie Brown, all that jazz, right? But I think what drew it, what brought it down for many people, for many fans, was the animation style. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
yes, it's CG and it looks a little more, really, modern, so to speak. But it's something about the hand drawn style that really made it work too. And because it just felt like true to what, Charles Schultz was going for, right? So every time you saw the animated shows with that hand drawn style, it just clicked with a lot of people. And that's the same thing I would say though with the Snoopy show, right? Which I will get into in a bit. But yeah, Ricardo, quick history on the Peanuts comics and the
Oof.
cartoons. You don't
Yeah.
spend too long because it's a lot, but
No,
just run.
yeah, it actually the franchise actually hits closer to home for me because so my parents bought for me, I don't know if you know what this is, but something called the Charlie Brown Cyclopedia. And what this is,
No, no.
yeah, what this is basically like about, I think about 13 or 15, I forget how many books in total, but it's a bunch of books and all of them is just like information shit. It's just an encyclopedia with the Charlie Brown characters explaining what's going on. And I absolutely used to
Okay.
read this. I used to read this shit as a kid all the time. Like it was just a bunch of facts about it. So every book had like something,
Right.
dinosaurs or space or whatever it is. And then yeah, from there on, I just fell in love with the animated movies. Borrowed that shit on VHS. Love them. I watched. I'm pretty sure I'm aware of every one of these movies. The one where they went to France, and the one where they had a summer camp, and all of these other ones, right?
Right.
And
The summer camp is Race for Your Life, I believe it was. That's
right.
what I saw. Yeah.
And yeah, so slowly but surely, you start to realize, wait. Charlie Brown actually surprisingly smarter and deeper than you ever thought it was. Like I always, as a kid, I look. I always knew that Calvin and Hobbes. You mentioned Bill Watterson. Calvin and Hobbes was always meant to be like a lot more adult and deeper than you thought it was. Because
Yeah.
I remember my dad understand, like thinking, oh, that was a really good comic on a really interesting, like surprisingly deep idea though. But Charlie Brown itself, I always treat like kid stuff. I didn't realize no, Charlie Brown itself also deep too. When it comes to like talking about how like effectively stoicism, right? How
Yeah.
to deal with the troubles of the world, like all these shitty things that could happen to you, and why and how. And it's a franchise that I always like really appreciated. And I was a big fan of that recent animated movie. I thought it was great. I love the 3D animation personally. I don't understand why anybody hated it, but whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
it was weird. Like I think people just dumping it too much though because of how different it looked compared to like, the
I thought it was
traditional
awesome.
style now,
I thought it
Yeah.
was amazing. Like I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. I thought it was great. But yeah,
Yeah.
to me, it's one of those things that, it's a franchise that I can't see it going away, and I really, really hope more people get into it. And what I noticed that Apple is kind of like catering to, like it. Well, with this show in particular, it really felt like some kind of PBS Kids kind of thing. Like it felt like an episode of Arthur almost. Like
Yeah, for
yeah, yeah,
real.
yeah.
Yeah. Especially the way how segmented it is though, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I was like pretty shocked. Like, where's the plan where's exactly
Oh, the purpose.
the
Okay.
purpose of like what Apple TV doing exactly? Like, I wonder if they're trying to become like this, basically a gigantic privatized version of PBS, effectively. Like, I could totally see them like,
Huh.
well, like that a big controversy over like the Super Bowl recently, and what they did with Sesame Street. Like big corporations own Sesame Street now, and people
Yeah,
hate
yeah. Well, HBO now owns it. Yeah.
exactly.
Not Max. I think normal HBO, eh?
No, but what do you call it? This thing. Oh god, the name, the Grubhub, or one of these big food places had a big ad promoting Sesame Street, and people hated it because,
Oh, I
right.
didn't watch that ad, though, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and your boy Davy Diggs was in it, right? And people was
Yes,
like,
yes, yes. So
people was up in,
I'll clip it up. Yeah.
right, and people was up in arms about it. And it's interesting how, you know Apple TV owns the Peanuts franchise, and what they're going for, like what's going to happen going forward, and what the plan is now. And that's fascinating, like what's going to happen going forward. By the way, we will start talking about in the show itself. Um, Good, like good,
Yeah,
not
it
bad.
is. It is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it caters a lot. It skews a lot younger than I expected, but still good.
Mhm.
Um, as I said, I mentioned it feel like something on Nick Jr. or PBS Kids or something like that, right?
Yeah,
And I
well, I would
wondered,
say more PBS Kids because it really
right?
did have a arter feel to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I wondering what going on with what Apple planned going forward now, and it's interesting how this played out. As I say, for the show itself, it just skews very young. It's not much to say. These great little side stories about what do you call it, about Snoopy himself.
Hmm.
Um, I didn't expect it to be as fun as it was. It's nice. But it's very young. Like, I can't say it's not too deep, too deep per se on its own to really speak of. Because I really thought it's not like it have the kind of workable stoicism and introspection that the Charlie Brown um stories have. Right? It's not that. It's just these nice little side tales. That's it. Nothing major. Nothing else to see other than these great little side stories and fun things. Because it's not like you're referencing Charlie Brown himself as it is. He barely shows up. They have a bunch of like great little jokes involving him. But
Yeah. Well, I
it's
would say that he's there, but it's not about him. Like he will still do his shenanigans, but he's just merely there to kind of support Snoopy or just be there when Snoopy needs help, basically. Yeah, I totally agree with you though. It is very sweet, very innocent and whatnot. And I actually have no problem with that. But like while I was watching this, because it's just only 6 episodes, which is kind of interesting, but I'll get to that in a bit. But like in the back of my mind, I was wondering, okay, well, all right, what is the purpose of putting this out in 2021 though?
right.
And I think just the main thing about it though, and this is where I think the show succeeds, is just showing that, even in the 2020s, the peanuts could still exist, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't have to dilute its formula. It doesn't have to be any edgy or okay. Well, now is the 2020s, so we can't go back to the 60s or the 80s or whatever it is, right? But you know what I mean? It still has the same sweet, lovable charm, and like I said, just the innocence of it all. Like you can watch this and not feel like it's trying to brainwash kids or anything like that. Though it is just so sweet and just harmless. Now. The voice acting is great. You know, that
Yeah.
it's just ever so just because the voices are so simple. You could just cast literally any unknown person. You'll be like, oh, well, it sounds eerily similar to how this Charlie Brown sounded in the movies or whatever it is. Now that's one thing that they nail well. Also, I thought that the the animation, I really have to commend the animation too. So not anything spectacular, but it's just how it looks, just like the old cartoons and just the
Yeah,
comic
yeah,
strip
yeah,
itself.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean all that's commendable. You could tell that they really went out of their way to just give you a pure version of the strips themselves, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean round of applause to the cast and crew involved. Uh it's 6 episodes, like I say, so we get 3 short segments. It's very reminiscent of like you know 90s TV shows, like your Tiny Toons Adventures, your Tom and Jerry Kids. I'm not too familiar with like the Peanut series, like in the 80s or whatnot. So I assume that they had a similar format, but I could be wrong 'cause I haven't seen them. But yeah, I mean they fly by very quickly. We just a lot of isms with Snoopy, the stuff that you expect
Yeah.
with him, the interactions with Woodstock, in his imagination running wild. I just keep things very, very simple, very, very lightweight, right? I know for some people, like, okay, I'll just say this before I get to it, right? I would say at this moment, if you just don't care about peanuts, or you just felt like, I know it has some people who just probably feel like they just outgrew it. You know what I mean? It's just like, yeah, this was cool when I was like a kid, but now, you know what I mean? Because I'm all
Right.
cynical and whatnot, right? But this one shows that yeah, there's still a place for this franchise here, and shockingly, it doesn't have to dilute itself. It doesn't have to be modern for the sake of being modern, i.e., like Sesame Street, for example.
Right.
It just keep things pure, just the way how Charles Schulz wanted it to be. And yeah, that's it. So I would say that if you go in expecting something way more, then you'll be disappointed by it, right? But I would say for me, like, if I have kids and they just never knew anything about peanuts, all they just know is just the holiday specials, I'd show them this, and they'd probably like it. You know what I mean? And for me as a fan, I watch it and I enjoyed it. I mean, it's not a show that I'll be, like highly looking forward to the second season, but I do hope that we get another one. The last thing I'll say before I get to read it, I don't know if this. I really am curious as to the longevity of this series. Like, if we're gonna get a
Right.
lot of seasons, I
Right.
doubt it. But luckily, what we get here is good enough. Not saying that it's less way to that, but it's just exactly what you expect. And yeah, I mean, if it's broke, don't try to fix it, right? So me rating wise, I'll give this a strong 3.5 to light format. I'd say it is worth checking out, especially if you're a fan of the show. I had a smile on my face, while watching all 2 hours of this season one here. And yeah, I mean, if you're a fan of the franchise, you'll absolutely love this. But just don't go in expecting this thing to be some modern take on, the series now. But I think that it really succeeds in saying, yeah, we in a new decade, but here's this thing that's still tried and true, man, and still delivers the charm, right? So
Right.
yeah, what more you can ask for? Uh, thoughts on well, any more thoughts if you have on
Yeah,
the
no,
show and the read?
I don't really have much else to say other than it's just really wholesome. It caters to the younger. Or it's for kids. Like it just does these great little stories and little side things. That's why I don't really like too it have not. I don't know if I won't say it has nothing to say because it doesn't really have any particular like moral stories to speak of. But it's just fine. Like it just appreciated for what it is and what it's trying to do. It's great. That's it. I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
I don't. As rating and for its purposes, I give it like a 8 out of 10 because it's just so well executed. It's
right.
funny. It's charming. That's it. Like it has nothing else to see. Because I don't expect to like talk about it. I have nothing else to talk about to speak of. As I said. But yeah, 8 out of 10. I thought it was pretty good for what it was.
Yeah. Okay, cool.